Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Liberate Yourself podcast. I am Trista Dedman, and this is going to be a little solo show because I am announcing this is the 1-year anniversary of the project of this podcast starting. Thinking back over the beginnings and how this project has evolved over the past year, my heart is just bursting. I can't believe how many amazing collaborations and contributions are made as I share energy with benevolent beings. And I just want to thank everyone who has listened, who continues to listen, who's supported through Patreon, who has commented, who has shared. Thank you so, so much. It really means the world to me. Because the original vision was to have these kinds of conversations that are centered around those of us that are doing really personal, energetic work in order to move along and evolve the paradigm that we all knew that we were, essentially born at this time to do, to help that come into existence. And changing systems and changing structures doesn't happen by going to the structures themselves and changing it. It happens by changing the consciousness, by moving into a higher consciousness way of life and changing our values and what we value in life. And all the guests that have been on my podcast so far, I am just so endlessly grateful for their contributions, their point of view, the beautiful ideas that we get to discuss. I mean, I'm really pinching myself because I get to have the conversations I've always wanted to have, and it's just been such a fun ride so far as we, ride these waves of change and learn from each other and grow from each other and support each other. And I'm really touched as well that there have been so many connections made, so many connections between guests and listeners and followers. It really highlighted something for me as I think back over this past year, looking at the evolution from the intention to what is growing and what is happening with everyone involved. What I really noticed is that these kinds of connections are really needed and really we're craving it from each other. And the beauty of the internet, the beauty of technology is that we're able to, I'm able to put out the transmission, to put out the signal so that we can find each other across boundaries and borders, as it were, and be able to meet up and create community and, again, share and support each other. From this point on, what I just launched is sort of a new phase of these kinds of conversations, which is called Liberation Wellspring. And this is an idea, a concept that's been coming to me for a while, I would say, as long as the podcast has. And I thought it was something separate or something different, but now I'm sort of being given the visions in order to walk into it and to move through it. And essentially, Liberation Wellspring is online gatherings where I'm holding online gatherings for us to have these types of discussions, but in a more, private, vulnerable place in order to, again, support each other and come together to compare notes and share our own methods, share our experiences, share our stories, because it's just so important that we share and connect in this way. And I feel like doing this in a small group setting is going to be really beneficial for everyone involved. And from the response so far, it seems like I was correct in that. It's been confirmed that this is something that is, much needed and much wanted and sought out. So thank you to everyone who has already signed up and registered. For everyone else that is interested in these kinds of gatherings, if you like the conversations my guests and I have here, you can go to tristadedmon.com. That's TRISTADEDMON. And click on online gatherings. There's a sign up form, a little bit of information. You get sent an email with a little bit more detail and instructions to complete registration. And these are essentially going to be small group gatherings by invitation. So no more than 5 other people other than me. And it's going to actually be a benefit for patrons of the podcast. So if you're a patron already, if you're thinking about becoming a patron, this is going to be in addition to the benefits that you're already receiving, is that these meetings are going to be complimentary to you. And to everyone else, I'm just going to ask for a suggested contribution is all. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to this. It's sort of a new phase of the project that is the same as the podcast. I don't know where it's going, but I'm just tending to it and nurturing it like my garden of delights, and I'm inviting you all into it to grow it together, which is how all of this is going to happen, how this new paradigm is going to happen. And the more that it was a really wonderful conversation I had with Revan of Cosmic Alignment on the last transmission, on transmission 18, about how, I believe we were talking about the North Node and how honoring the North Node and moving more towards that in this lifetime, and just looking at our chart in general and trying to live into the best potential of our chart can help, as long as we're doing that work on ourselves and being the best version of ourselves and evolving, that actually helps the entire collective involved, because we're all truly one. We're all the same, or part of the same organism, part of the same essence of creation. That's what I feel this project is really about, is sharing more ways for us to evolve personally and to transform personally, and to discuss those beautiful ideas of coming together as a community, because that's really what we're moving into. What we're heading into is more shared experience, more shared resources, more shared everything, and that is different from what we were told, from what we were taught. I mean, we're not just at a changeover of a decade or a century even. We're at this transition point of a larger cycle, of a huge eon change. So that's going to take time, and I just wanted to remind everyone to have patience with yourself, have patience with others. We sort of can get, caught up in our own bubble, like where everything is beautiful and wonderful and we feel great and it's like incredible and we can see the visions, we can see the vision of what is possible and it's so beautiful, and then we go out into the world and it can be kind of a disappointment sometimes when you see that the physical structures or, mainstream society isn't quite caught up with where we are on the leading this kind of thought, this kind of world making, essentially. But just stay with it. What's really been wonderful and a great confirmation with this project, again, is to know that there are so many of us out there that feel this way. And I hope that it brings that kind of validation and confirmation to you as well. That was really, I've been admitting it more, or talking about it more as I go along, but one of the main aims and intents with this podcast, one, of course, to liberate yourself, yes, and in that also being able to share the stories of others that are going through the same kinds of experiences and are approaching life in the same way, and that know that something, like this is happening, that this great transitional time is happening and this change is happening. To know that they are not alone, to know that you are not alone in this. And I have to say that I'm just so grateful that so many people are resonating with that as well. I've been getting messages recently even that are saying exactly that they feel so alone, and that the content is helping them to connect with, other people who feel like them, and to feel welcomed and to feel like they belong. And that is what it's all about here. So thank you to, again, all of my guests, all of the people involved in this project, and all the people who are supporting it, all the patrons, of course, who support me monthly, and support it going forward. Thank you so much. If you want to find out more about becoming a patron, you can go to patreon.com/liberate yourself, and there's a full rundown of all the benefits. So I'm recording this in mid-April, and we're just coming out of this really trippy Mercury in Pisces retrograde and Pisces season overall that was just this huge ocean of, I've been using the words psychedelic, quantum, and I mean that, in every way, shape, and form, because my natal Mercury is in Pisces as well as my sun. And even I'm just like a little bit overwhelmed and kind of ready to move on. But I did want to kind of speak to my own personal experience a little bit and what I've been noticing out there with everyone's experience. When I wrote the astro forecast for March, which is one of the benefits for patrons, I used the term or the title spiritual renaissance because I felt like this was a time, Pisces is all about the all, like quite literally, all of consciousness, the ocean of consciousness, and all of the quantum possibilities, the quantum reality where all possibilities are available at once. And us being, for the most part, operating on a linear timeline, not as used to thinking about life in terms of cycles when we're moving towards that. But this can be really disorienting because having everything available at once and having these spiritual revelations and communication open up to our higher selves can be overwhelming. So I hope that everyone is faring well after this time. My own experience was basically, I knew I was going to be in for it because, again, it's my natal Mercury and Sun. And it's also my 6th house, which is typically, daily routines, employment, but it's also health. So I became sick. I'm not sick that often, but I became ill with a really mysterious form of what I think is probably the flu or just a really serious head cold. I don't know. It was very mysterious, very Pisces, like like we couldn't figure out what was going on, and the symptoms would change every day and just be completely different, and it's like, okay, now you got to deal with this. But basically, like, I was asleep a lot. When the symptoms were over, I was basically just like sleeping for a week or more, and sleep to dream. Basically, I think that it helped me process a lot. It helped me get in touch with the more liminal realms. It's interesting because our society, like me personally, I've been going through my own nodal return. It is happening right now. South node in Capricorn, North node in Pisces. So, and my moon is in Capricorn as well. So I was really, really pulled to acting unconsciously. I tend to go towards or think that the practical traditional systems in place, or like how I had to put my gifts or how I had to like funnel my creativity, for one, like into the existing system. I've always rebelled against this, but some part of me was still like, oh, well, I have to, like, there has to be this certain structure. And, it was really blocking me. The other huge transit that's going on right now is we have Saturn, Pluto, and the South Node all dancing together in Capricorn. This doesn't happen very often. Any two of those things coming together doesn't happen often, but now they're all three coming together. And this is just a time to, yes, it seems very chaotic because structures and systems are, Capricorn, like the traditional way, the things that are already physically in place are crumbling, are being asked to be released. And the way that affects us personally is, the past and the history and our ancestral lineage, essentially. Like if we look back over history, the things that we've built need to fall away now so that we can go more towards Cancer, so that we can nurture, so that we can make decisions based on love and what is going to really help us grow and help us evolve from a place of that feminine principle and and softness and feelings and sharing ourselves authentically. And anyway, so this is Mercury in Pisces. This is a perfect example. It's just sort of meandering and all over the place and trying to fit quantum reality and like having access to having so much that is beyond words try to come out through this voice box with just the English language is very, like I said, very trippy and not always easy. But yeah, my experience going through that, and I being sick and sleeping a lot, having access to the liminal realms, I've been really releasing a lot of limiting beliefs, boundaries that I had put up for myself. And I feel like this is what we're all doing. I feel like I've really begun to harness and understand better what my purpose is, what my, whatever you want to call it, my higher self, my inner being, my true self is having me do and guiding me to do. And it's been a really beautiful, albeit frustrating experience at times, because it took us out of that linear timeline or that linear way of doing things that we're, so used to, and gave us access to the more spiritual dimension of life and how we really can incorporate that into how we're creating, how we're showing up in the world, how we're expressing, how we're living in general. And so now this is a really beautiful time, I feel. Mercury still is in Pisces. It will be in Aries next week, which will be nice. It's been like 2 months now, which is just crazy. In Aries, Mercury will help us be more decisive and more dynamic and more, definitely we can move forward and make decisions. Right now, I feel like it's still information gathering in a way, but just not in that. I mean, Mars is in Gemini, so yeah, there's lots of information gathering. I'm feeling a bit overwhelmed by that as well mentally, but it'll be nice because going through all of that, going through that retrograde period when we were really brought to a place where we were having this discussion with ourselves, this spiritual liminal discussion with ourselves is super beneficial, because then we can truly be reborn. We can truly begin another cycle in Aries season and come out and say exactly who we are. It's the seed of that idea, but if we didn't go through these past couple months, late February, March, then we wouldn't have as much conviction or as much knowing of who we are in order to birth that into the world, in order to proclaim that to everyone else and to show up as our true selves. So I know that lots of us had difficult times, but I hope that there is this sort of framing around it, that it was for the greater good, it was for your highest good. And hopefully we can move forward, dry out a little bit, and step into who we are really meant to be and begin creating from that place. I know that that's what I'm taking from this experience. And I know I didn't explain a lot of what was going on with me internally, because I just literally can't. It's beyond words, but I know that my aim from now is to boldly be exactly who I am and show up as exactly who I am. That's what Aries energy helps us do. And go from here, just setting good intentions and planting seeds for this beautiful garden that I want to create together. Okay, so I think that may be the end of my sharing and rant for now. This was a bit impromptu. I just felt the impulse to share with you guys. I'm getting together some really amazing guests, just kind of waiting for scheduling to line up with them all. We're going to continue on. We're going to continue creating together and collaborating together. If you feel moved by anything that is said on any transmission, please feel free to reach out to me. You can go to my website. Again, it's tristadedman.com. You can comment on any of the transmission posts, and please feel free to reach out to any of my guests. I'm really blessed in that I attract just some of the most benevolent beings out there, and they're really great people and would be very welcome and accepting of connection with you. So, and you can also follow me on Instagram at Trista Dedman. I write tons of posts these sorts of subjects as well. The vision is far and wide, and I don't know where this is all headed, but I'm so happy that you're along for the journey, and I am just so thrilled again for all of the collaboration, all of the support, and I hope you'll continue to join me for years to come. Thanks for listening. Take care out there.